I'm going to show you how to make an earring holder. Okay? Like these guys here. Ta-da! These are earring holders. Yes. And what I'm going to do, my wife's earrings, I don't want them to be easier for you to take a look at without the earrings on them, but these are two pieces that I made not that long ago for our anniversary and a birthday present. Christmas is coming up, birthdays are forever, anniversaries are forever. Take a look at that one, pass it around. And this one you can look at on this side. Send them around. Oh, where is he? Now these are not that hard to make. Even Craig can do it. All right. Can everybody see the lathe okay? We're good? This is an interesting year for me. It's not even the year over yet, and I'm on my second presentation and just got elected to president of the guild here. Yay.
Where do you miss a meeting?
I know if I miss a meeting, it's all over. By the way, before I start, I don't know about anybody else, but I put my cone center right here across from my lathe so I can hook up my live centers and my drive spurs and whatever. And after a couple of times of reaching for something, and this was in the way, I ended up putting this on top of it. It's just a piece of hard plastic there. Yeah, I just got nailed the other day, right there. So, man, who needs it? So anyway, the earring holder is very much like a candlestick holder. When Pete was here last month and he was showing you how to make a candlestick holder, all the basics, the same thing, except for the top. So what I'm going to do is just show you and pass around each piece. Bill's actually got like the how-to that I wrote up recently for that. But what you're going to do is start with the base, because it's all about the base, about the base. And you have two blanks, one for the top that's smaller and one for the bottom. And what you're going to do, starting with the bottom, is you're going to drill a 3/8 inch hole with your Forstner bit on the drill press, but only go in about 3/8 of an inch. This one only goes in a short distance down, and this one goes all the way through. Little tip for you, when you're using the drill press and you're going to drill the hole, put a piece of scrap wood underneath it so it doesn't splinter when you go all the way through. Always a good thing to remember. And this part on top is actually going to be on the bottom when you place it on. I'll show you in a minute. But Bill has a metal template, which I'll pass around in a minute, which is how you put these holes in using the drill press. So let's see. We have the bottom piece first. And I brought my cone center here because I'm going to show you how to do this. The spindle turning is pretty easy, and I'm going to get into that in a little while too, but you want to start out with making your base. And in order to anchor the base to the lathe, to the headstock here, what you want to do is turn it round and then put a little, doesn't have to be very deep, tenon. Okay? So what happens is you put this as a square onto the headstock here, and then you bring up your tailstock with the cone, and you only have to put the jaws up against the back of this, just like that, and you bring the tailstock up, hopefully center, and you turn it on or spin it or whatever, just to make sure that it's true. Once it's true, then the outside portion is where you start the tenon. Okay? This is up against here, and you make the little tenon there, you round it off, and then you flip it over. And you put the tenon inside the jaws, and now you've got a stable thing to hold on to. And what you want to do is make the bottom and finish the bottom. You put a reverse tenon in there so that you can anchor this when you turn it around to make the top part. Now the top part, as it's going around, I think the easiest way to make the base is with this sort of OG shape, something like that, little dome, little OG shape. That works just fine. But that's how you get the base started. Make a little tenon, flip it around, reverse tenon, flip it back again, and you hold it onto here, and then you cut this to whatever shape that you want to. And it's always good to put a little plateau. You'll see that on the pieces that I'm sending around. A little plateau about 1/8 of an inch high there, that's flat, that your piece will eventually rest on. I'll open those up later. They'll sit on there, and you want to undercut a little bit where the tenons go in, so that it sits flush. You don't want it riding high. I did that a couple times. It's a real drag when this thing comes off and you can't put it back on the lathe, and you've got a hand sand or a cut or whatever, and then you glue it down. The top piece, let's see. Top piece requires a template. Bill made a second one for me. I'm going to pass these around. The idea behind this is that you're going to put this side here. You're going to put a template which already has 24 holes cut into it. This thing's about, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch thick here. That's going to go on top. There's a pin. If you want to do any of this stuff, you can contact either me or Bill to get the template. We can walk you through it. And this is a little pin right here. See my little pin? The number is 5/64 drill bit. Drill bit. This tiny little guy is what goes into your drill press. And there's a little pin that is basically just the shank of the drill bit, same size. I know because we don't have the screen up here that you can't see this, but I'm going to send it around in the baggie so that you can take a look at it. And here's the way we do this. Here's my baggie. Pass that around. You see the size of these things? So you've made your base. It's all set. It's all finished. You can finish it either before on the lathe, or you can finish whatever way you want to after you put it all together. But for the top piece, get your drill press once again, and what you're going to do is put that little 1/64 of an inch, 5/64 drill bit in there, and you want to just go down. There's a line on here about 1/16 of an inch into the wood. That's all you need. So you measure the drill press to come down enough to go through the metal, and only 1/16 of an inch down so that it stops. Now once you start the first hole, then you get this little pin that I'm sending around, and you stick it into the first hole. That's what keeps this thing from moving. So now you just put it on the drill press, and you rotate it.
Now you do that up here.
That's so you can see.
Up in the air.
I'm pretending I'm on a drill press. Anyway, you get
They can't see it down there.
You get the drill press, and you just put it to the depth, and you just rotate it like that. And with the pin in there, it won't move. It'll stay there until you get to the 24th hole, and then you're done. You take it out, and you've got your top piece ready to go. Excuse me. These are the templates.
Hey, Steve,
Yes, sir.
can you do that also with the indexer? If your lathe has an index?
If you have an index, you can do it that way too. Yeah. As a matter of fact, if you don't have a drill press, you can just put a drill on the live center there and tailstock and bring it
The
up.
live center is going to be centered on the shaft. You have to make the platform on your lathe and hold the drill like a Dremel drill, you know, an inch or inch and a half below, depending on your diameter, and then you can slide it back and forth.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to figure out, how you could do this without doing that steel template.
Well, only because this is the way that I learned, because Bill had the template.
That's
And we also tried, a wood template, but obviously if you miss it by a little bit, you're going to make the hole, you know, off or whatever. So, yeah, you can either use indexing or whatever way you prefer if you don't want to go the metal point. This is the way I learned, so this is the way I'm doing the presentation. Pick on the guy and he starts throwing his stuff up. All right, so where am I? We've got the template. Okay, so then the same deal with the piece for the top.
Is there any reason why you just wouldn't drill all the way through other than wasted energy?
All the way through what?
Oh, you said you went halfway through that block. Obviously, it's going to be turned off the part that didn't go through, right?
Yeah.
But if you just went all the way through, it wouldn't be a big deal, right?
Once again, it's the way I was shown.
Okay.
I don't know, Bill, you have an answer for that? Because I don't.
Yes, the reason you don't want to, it's a pain in the neck to drill 3/4 of an inch deep with a 5/64 drill. It's so small, and then the vertical part, you keep plugging up the flutes and the drill off the wood chip. Why drill wood that you're going to throw on the floor?
Argue with him.
Just questions, not arguments.
Anyway.
The problem is the jig makes it look like you're drilling a deep hole, so you don't get the chips out as easy.
This works nice and easy. And after you take it off, just sand off the excess on the top there. And this one also is a slightly different method for anchoring it, which I chose to do myself. Also using the cone center to help it out. You can either use something like this, just create your own little jig to anchor it with a little tenon there, and this little nib, which is 3/8 of an inch diameter, or this kind. It's such a small piece, it doesn't matter if you use a longer one or a bigger one. And what you're going to do is put this one on with the holes down. Okay? Put it with the holes down. In the jaws, you turn it round, and you don't want to be going past the holes, and you only want it to be about a 1/16 of an inch on the edge. You'll also notice on those actual made ones that the base and the top both have a little chamfer on the bottom, so it gives it's a nice design element there. So this goes on here, on here. That goes on the lathe. You turn it around, and you start creating once again the OG shape. Put a little flat plateau there or whatever, and as you're coming down, you want to stop as soon as you see the holes, because what you're doing is working your way down to the holes. And once you stop there, then you just finish off the top and buff it or whatever you want to do. Put a finish on it then, or save it for later. But that's all you're doing, is making another OG shape. So these are basically mirroring each other, small and large for the base and the top, except this one has got the template holes in it for the earrings. And I'm going to pass these guys around too for you. That's your base and your top with the cutout holes. Keep it in the baggie, doesn't matter. And these guys. Any questions on that so far?
First thing you show the president is establish a passing
I brought double of everything. I brought double of everything, so it would start on each side and work its way. Okay. As far as the stem, and this is, hello, as far as the stem goes, this was something that happened with Pete, showing you how to put the base and the stem together or whatever. You have a choice. You can either make two separate pieces, one for the finial, one for this. The stem can actually be made between centers, but if you do that, you have to make sure that you have measured the thing exactly with the tenons, so that you can just make it, put the tenons on, pop it off, and you're set to go. Otherwise, the finial should go inside the jaws, like that. Put the center here, and then make your finial, and then you can take off you can make your little piece there, the tenon there, and part that off easy enough. Or you can make the whole thing on one piece. Put this end inside the jaws, the other end, like that. Rub it down, create your shape, and you can do both together. And this is how that's done. I did both because they're both pretty easy. It's just basic spindle turning. But this one is with, I had it in the jaws, and I made the finial first, created the tenon, followed by the tenon for the stem, created the rest of it, another tenon, all the time while it's in there, and this was also being held in center, and you can always, so tiny, do like that. Once the finial comes off, you can put this back on over here and do it that way. So, that is, both in there. That is using a whole piece of wood, so it depends on what your flavor is there. Otherwise, you make a little finial like that, you make the stem like that, and you put them together. Put the top on there. Each piece goes in, glue it. And before you glue, do make sure that you are actually flush with the base and with the top, both sides at the top there. Because as I said, if you don't undercut it a little bit, under here, it's going to be riding high and you're going to have to handstand it or make another one, whichever. So just keep that in mind, and you can even do that with the plateau, as a matter of fact. The little plateau, just undercut it a little bit so these both sit nice and flush. And I'm going to send these guys around. So you can see that. And all of this is step by step on those instructions there. I'll do this side this time because they got the other. Okay. Anything else I might have forgotten? And the cool thing about these is that you don't necessarily have to use two kinds of wood, contrasting wood. The design part is your own deal, however you want to do it. I started out because it was Ellie Avicero's original piece, which broke in half or whatever, but I chose that, and it was made out of purple heart for the base and the top, and the middle, the stem and the finial were maple, and I haven't got a clue what I made the second one out of. I think it was maple and maybe mahogany, but I don't know. Once you put a coating on it, it changes color anyway. So you can use all the same wood if you want to. I mean, I've seen some of the pieces over here. It was really incredibly beautiful wood. You can make it all out of one color, one type of wood. You can mix it up. You can do it segmented. However you want to create those bases and the top is up to you. And the other thing, if I can see once, oh, she's taking photos. You don't necessarily, once again, design options. You don't necessarily have to put a finial on top of that. If you want to just create the OG shape, a dome, or whatever design that you want on the top, here, take that off, just have this here. You can very easily just put a, what do they call those, eye hook, an eye hook, solid eye hook on top of there, so you can pick it up and hang it from a tree or whatever. Many different ways that you want.
Another suggestion, I tried to do it, but I blew it, and I tried to make the same thing, but with a bowl on the bottom to put rings in.
If you'd like.
Just as a...
I just thought this was a pretty cool design when I first saw it, and it works out great with 24 holes there, earrings. I'm actually, that one stem that I just sent out there that's longer with the finial on it, I tried to make that about an inch and a half longer than this one because my wife said she needs a larger one, a taller one for the longer earrings. Okay, whatever. So that's what that was about, to make the little guitar. So the height is up to you, the size, whatever template you want to use, that's the idea. But you see, they make wonderful gifts, and I'm sure that anybody that got this from you, no matter what the design was, is going to be giving you the wow factor. Oh my God, you love me so much. You know, so they're very cool gifts, and it really looks like you put a lot of effort into it. I would say probably your first time out would take about 3 hours start to finish. You know, just set up your wood, do the drilling real quick, and decide your design ahead of time. I learned this from Jim Davis when I first started coming here, and he was talking about that, and I'm constantly forgetting it, and I pay the price. You can even just do a little template of cardboard and show what it is that you want to design, like you're making a baluster or something, a spindle turning, and it makes it so much easier. But, you know, you can also just copy somebody else's work, or you just start making any kind of thing you want. This can be as simple as you want, can be straight up and down, as detailed as you want. You can finish this while it's on the lathe, doing each piece, which is what I did the first time out. I just used bry wax or sanding sealer with friction polish. That's the other way to go. Otherwise, you can take the whole thing, glue it together, spray it, wax it, however you want to finish it off that you think is going to look the best. And don't forget to sign your name at the bottom. Or happy birthday, happy anniversary. That is my presentation.
Thank you, Mr.